What's up guys, Cameron here, and welcome to another episode of Breakdown, the show where we reveal the hidden information in your favorite video games so you click away more informed. In this episode, we're going to take a look at lag in Call of Duty Infinite Warfare and Modern Warfare Remastered, and explain why this lag is experienced by so many people. So, in order to keep it easy to understand, I'm going to go over a couple quick terms you may not know. Ping is the reaction time of your connection, essentially how fast you get a response once you send a request. You can think of it like a sonar pulse where an audio signal is sent out and then reflected back to the source with the amount of time it took to return back as recorded. In the context of gaming, it's how fast you can send information to the server and the server can return that information to the player. Your ping is the amount of time between you sending the request and receiving the information back. The higher your ping is, the longer it takes between you and the server to exchange information, and thus lag is created. Distance affects this too because the further a client or a player is from the server, the longer it takes to send and receive information, and thus the player has a higher ping. Just think about playing against someone in your own city versus somebody across the world. There's obviously going to be more lag the further away somebody is. Next up is dedicated server. A dedicated server is a remote server fully dedicated to the game. These servers are hosted by companies and rented out by the developers, or in some case individuals, to handle the game. Today, dedicated servers are the gold standard in gaming because they have powerful hardware that can handle high bandwidth connections and ensure high network stability. On top of this, no player has an advantage as equal ping amongst players is ensured, which we'll get more into later. But it's important to have many of these servers scattered everywhere people play the game, so there isn't a huge distance between the server and a player, which would result in a higher ping and more lag. Next is client-to-client, also known as peer-to-peer connection. This is where a person is a player and server at the same time. The game selects a player to host the connection and the game is hosted off of their hardware, and while this is cheaper to implement for the developers, lots of problems can arise if the host doesn't have very high speed internet connection themselves, and the host has an advantage in-game, which we'll discuss more later. And finally we have tick rate. The tick rate is the number of times per second the game processes and produces new data. The higher the tick rate the better, as the game updates more times per second, which leads to smoother gameplay. For example, if a game has a tick rate of 30, there will be more delay than if the game had a tick rate of 60. So now that you have an understanding of these, let's talk about how they affect the lag you experience. In Call of Duty, connection runs on a hybrid system of dedicated servers and client-to-client connections. This means that in some instances, you'll be playing on a dedicated server rented out by Activision, and sometimes you'll be playing on a connection hosted by somebody's console. So, the lag you experience will differ between the two. In most cases, unless you're the host of a client-to-client game, the dedicated server will present less lag. In tests conducted by YouTuber Battle Nonsense, who will be linked in the description, the tick rate was found to be better in Infinite Warfare compared to Modern Warfare Remastered. In Infinite Warfare, the tick rate for a dedicated server connection is 100 Hz from the player to the server and 20 Hz from the server to the player. This means that the server receives an update from the player 100 times per second, and the player receives an update from the server 20 times per second. In a client-to-client connection, the tick rate is 100 Hz from player to server and 10 Hz from server to player, so the player only receives an update from the server every 100 milliseconds. Now, when we compare this to Modern Warfare Remastered, the results are pretty startling. In both dedicated server and client-to-client connections, Modern Warfare Remastered has a tick rate of 30 Hz from player to server and 10 Hz from server to player. What this means is that the server only receives a new update every 33 milliseconds and the player only receives a new update every 100 milliseconds, regardless of connection type. So it's clear that Modern Warfare Remastered will always have more delay or lag in-game. Now we're going to talk about this issue where you hit somebody with a bullet on your screen, but they never actually take any damage. This is due to lag compensation. Lag compensation is used to help combat network latency. For example, in this instance, I shot the other player, which registered with a hit marker which should damage the other player. However, it did not. This is because the game compensated for the update delay and determined that I really should have been dead before I got that shot off. The reason I see the hit marker on my screen is that the hit marker is shown before the information is sent and received back by the server. So while I see it on my screen, the game doesn't register it as a hit because it was compensating for the update delay. Now, talking about lag in peer-to-peer connections, the host will always have an advantage over the other players. This is because the player themselves are also the server, so there's nearly no delay between their actions and the server recognizing them. There's no distance between them and the server, so whatever the host sees on their screen is basically what the server recognizes as the gameplay. This is why being host was seen as OP in many of the previous Call of Duty games. So now that you know why lag occurs, is there anything you can do to reduce it? Well, products like the NetDuma R1 router claim to reduce lag in gaming and provide you with a more stable internet connection. It utilizes features such as geo-filtering, prioritization, and anti-flood to improve your connection online and seems to be beneficial for a lot of people. However, no matter what you do, there is no getting around the set-in-stone tick rates in Infinite Warfare and Modern Warfare Remastered. The only thing you can do is maintain a solid internet connection yourself and hope for a dedicated server. I want to thank you all for watching, and be sure to give me ideas in the comments on what I should do for the next episode of Breakdown. Hopefully from watching this video you have a better understanding of lag in Infinite Warfare and Modern Warfare Remastered, so if you do, be sure to leave a like. It really helps with spreading this video to other interested people, and be sure to subscribe if you'd like to see future episodes of Breakdown. Also, one other thing, I'm currently hosting a giveaway of two $25 Amazon gift cards. I have a video where I explain this more, the steps on how you can enter. The link will be in the description to that, so go check it out. And thanks again for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.